News 10.
And so this also feels like an effort to deter us from holding him accountable at the ballot box either this fall in 2028.
Michigan's Secretary of State calling out President Donald Trump for saying he wants to nationalize future elections, claiming the current system is corrupt. Good evening. I'm Ann Emmerich.
And I'm David Andrews. Tonight, the idea of the federal government taking over the election process has officials split. News 10's Bobby Cushing here in studio now to break it all down. Bobby?
Yeah, good evening, David and Ann. In his comments on Tuesday, the president said he wants elections to be honest, claiming states are agents of the federal government, even bringing up Detroit and calling it corrupt. However, officials on the other side of the aisle warn the dangers of the federalization of future elections.
The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
Calls from President Donald Trump to federalize future elections amid investigations into voter fraud from the 2020 election, despite there being no evidence of widespread voter fraud happening anywhere in the country. Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall on board with more federal involvement.
You know, we'd certainly be open to involvement from the federal government to ensure that Michigan's election is run fairly.
However, Michigan Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist II, who is also running to be the next Secretary of State, says when the president speaks like this, he has an ulterior motive.
When he says he wants Republicans to take over, it's because they don't want Democrats to vote. They don't want people who disagree with them or may not support their dangerous, destructive, and deadly policies to have a voice at the ballot box.
When asked about what he imagined elections would look like with more federal involvement, he said he didn't have to imagine anything.
I mean, look no further than the FBI raiding and seizing ballots in Georgia. Look no further than the threats that they've made for mass federal agents to intimidate people.
And he says he and his team are already preparing for what else comes from the president's playbook.
Those are lawyers are getting prepared, working operationally at the local level for folks who are getting ready for this. I've had conversation with those clerks about that.
Gilchrist says he worries about not just the 2026 midterm elections, but the 2028 presidential elections as well. Brian Kalt, a law professor at Michigan State University, says it would be possible to federalize an election with congressional approval. While states can set times and locations for elections, Congress does have the power to alter those rules. David?
All right, Bobby, thank you. Ingham County Clerk Barb Byram says the president alone does not have the authority to federalize elections, calling it completely unconstitutional.
A live look from